that was offended and yelled at and reportedly hung up on by the new administration, by the new president, was the Prime Minister of Australia. You might remember President Trump was in a conversation with the Prime Minister of Australia. Things turned heated for a reason that was never quite clear, and President Trump reportedly hung up on him in the middle of their first conversation. The Prime Minister of Australia has a name. His name is Malcolm Turnbull. It's not that hard. Turnbull. Malcolm Turnbull. That's his name.
The president had a very cordial conversation with Prime Minister Turnbull.
His name is not Trumbull. It's Turnbull. Just those two syllables. Turnbull.
While he has respect for the Australian people, respect for Prime Minister Turnbull.
This is not actually that hard. But the White House folks, it's Turnbull. But right away, from the very beginning, it was clear the White House spokesman could not manage this.
Prime Minister Turnbull, respect for Prime Minister Turnbull.
His name is not Trumbull. His name is Turnbull. There were these early little signs that maybe even the kind of easy stuff like this was going to be a problem. Because it turns out it's not even just names. It's when you spell stuff out, too. Literally, acronyms are even hard, even short acronyms.
He receives an intelligence briefing and the PBD every day.
The president receives a PDB every day, not a PBD. It's the president's daily brief, not the president's briefly BVD. President's daily brief, PDB. But the White House spokesman cannot manage that.
He receives an intelligence briefing and the PBD every day. Receives the PBD. He does get the PBD every day.
It's not the PBD, it's the PDB. It's the president's daily brief. It stands for a thing. And then there was the time when he was trying to talk about the terrorist attack in Orlando. It happened in Orlando. Orlando is a totally different place than Atlanta, which is what he kept saying instead.
What do we say to the family that loses somebody of a terrorist, to whether it's Atlanta or San Bernardino or the Boston bomber?
I don't think you have to look any further than the families of the Boston Marathon, in Atlanta, in San Bernardino.
Whether you're talking about San Bernardino, Atlanta.
When he says Atlanta over and over again, there isn't a terrorist attack in Atlanta that he's talking about. He's trying to talk about Orlando, but it keeps coming out Atlanta over and over and over again. He later cleared that up, but not before the... And now today, it's World War II 101, as failed by the spokesman for the President of the United States. I know you heard about this today, but have you actually heard the thing itself? Because this isn't just mispronouncing something. This is the full-blown blossoming of something that appears to be a thought.
What makes you think that at this point he's going to pull back in his support for President Assad and for the Syrian government right now?
I think a couple things. You look, we didn't use chemical weapons in World War II. You know, you had someone as despicable as Hitler who didn't even sink to using chemical weapons.
I'm not going to go ahead and spell out the history here of Hitler gassing millions of people to death in World War II. Obviously, you know that history. Everybody knows that history. 7-year-olds are too young probably to watch this show, but 7-year-olds know that history, right? But this is our White House now. That was the statement today. Do you care to clarify, sir? Were you talking about something other than Hitler, maybe? Do you want to clear this up?
I just want to give you the opportunity to clarify something you said that seems to be getting some traction right now. Quote, Hitler didn't even sink to the level of using chemical weapons. So what do you mean by that?
I think when you come to sarin gas, he was not using the gas on his own people the same way that Assad is doing. I mean, there was clearly, I understand your point. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. There was not he brought him into the Holocaust Center, and I understand that.
The Holocaust centers. He brought them into the Holocaust centers. And when he says not using gas on his own people, by which you mean the people Hitler gassed by the millions weren't his own people? Whose people? I mean, this is an attempted historical reference gone very, very, very wrong, clearly. But what it's about in the present, what this historical reference is about now, is also a problem here.
was not using the gas on his own people the same way that Assad is doing.
The same way that what is doing now? That who? What?
The same way that Assad is doing.
Assad. That's one of his attempts today to say Bashar al-Assad. That was one of his tries. Here's another try.
No, I don't see a future Syria that has Bashar al-Assad as the leader of that government.
Bashar al-Assad. His name is Bashar al-Assad. The White House spokesman later went on CNN, still couldn't manage even that part of it. Still.
There's no way that I can see a stable and peaceful Syria with Bashar al-Assad in charge.
Bashar al-Assad, I know you mispronounced his name a few times, but it's Bashar al-Assad.
Bashar al-Assir was the attempt there. Talking is hard. Everybody gets tripped up sometimes. But this is the person whose job it is to speak for the White House. And he can't even do it in print, let alone out loud. Seriously, after initially stating that Hitler didn't use chemical weapons, that Hitler, okay, well, at least he didn't gas his own people, that Hitler only did the gassing of whoever he gassed in the Holocaust centers, after that happened out loud, look at this. This is how they tried to clean it up in print. The White House put out this written clarifying statement at 2:47 p.m. from the press secretary. In no way was I trying to lessen the horrendous nature of the Holocaust, comma. However, I was trying to draw a contrast of the tactic of using airplanes to drop chemical weapons on innocent people. When you say innocent people, do you... Okay, no, let's try that again. So then, a few minutes later, this is 9 minutes later, from the press secretary. In no way was I trying to lessen the horrendous nature of the Holocaust, comma. However, I was trying to draw a contrast of the tactic of using airplanes to drop chemical weapons on population centers. Okay? You want to leave it there? You sure that's where you want to leave it? Nope. Sorry, no. Another written clarification 10 minutes later, this one timestamped 3:06 p.m. from the press secretary. In no way was I trying to lessen the horrendous nature of the Holocaust, period. I was trying to draw a distinction of the tactic of using airplanes to drop chemical weapons on population centers. Any attack on innocent people is reprehensible and inexcusable. So that makes 3 different written tries in 19 minutes. Anything else? Or are we done with this now? Oh, no, not done. Not done, it turns out.
I needed to make sure that I clarified and not was in any way, shape, or form any more of a distraction from the president's decisive action in Syria and the attempts that he's making to destabilize the region.
The attempts that he's making to what? White House spokesman today not wanting to distract from President Trump's efforts to destabilize the region.
Any more of a distraction from the president's decisive action in Syria and the attempts that he's making to destabilize the region.
Talking is hard.